What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the best new shoes for 2024. Today we're going to dive into all of those top max cushion cruisers that we saw at TRE that will be coming next year. This is a category that is super competitive right now. We've seen this heating up a lot in 2023. There's even more competitive new models coming next year. Some brands are even double stuffing their lineup with multiple models in this same market segment. So in this video, I'm going to go through all of the top new models, letting you know the key differences between each and helping you decide which one might be best for your rotation come the new year. All right, guys, before we get into it today, if you haven't checked out the Running Shoe Matcher tool yet, go to runningshoematcher.com. This is a really cool tool I built that matches you with the best shoe for you based on your goals and preferences. So you can go in there, answer 5 questions about what type of shoe you're looking for, whether you want a daily trainer, a tempo shoe, or a race day shoe, whether you like your shoes soft or firm, and we'll match you with the best shoe for you. So it's live right now and it's free. You can check it out at runningshoematcher.com, and I'll put a link in the description below. In 2023, the max cushion market segment became probably the hottest in the game. You had tried and true brands like Brooks dropping new entrants in the Ghost Max. You had other brands like New Balance with the 1080 V13 evolving their daily trainers more towards that max cushion category. You also had brands like Asics and Saucony taking their durable franchise shoes like the Gel-Nimbus and the Triumph and pushing those toward the max cushion category as well. In the case of Asics, bumping up that stack height above 40 millimeters. Now, the big trend in this category in 2023 was a move towards softer foams like we see here in the 1080 V13. New Balance introduced this very soft fresh foam, and same thing that Asics did here in the Gel-Nimbus 25. So this is a trend that is here to stay. 2024 is seeing more of these super soft cushion foams, but with that, there's also going to be a little bit more of a drive for stability. So in this shoe that you see right here, they've widened the base a little bit, especially out in the back, which is going to give some more planted landings. Now, the last key trend that's taking place in this max cushion cruiser market segment that I want to highlight before we get into those shoes is the move toward rocker geometries. So pairing these super soft, bouncy, modern foams with a rocker is also a thing that's driving this category forward. So even in a shoe like this Asics Gel-Nimbus here, you'll see there is a huge rocker geometry here at the bottom. It's this canoe-like feature, and that's what makes it easier to navigate with this huge stack of foam. So these shoes are really designed to make it easy to run. They're designed for those days where you're not going to be pushing the pace, where you want to get out there and run with the least amount of burden as possible on your body. And these softer foams, wider platforms, and more aggressive rockers all work together to give a pleasant running experience. So with that bit of context out of the way, let's dive into those best max cushion shoes for 2024. All right, guys, so first up, we have the New Balance More V5. Now, one of the most confusing parts of New Balance's lineup over the past year was with the introduction of this 1080 V13 in October. They raised the stack height to 38 millimeters here in the back, making it really similar to the current generation of the More V4. There's some difference in that the More V4 does have more of a rocker. It has a little bit more foam underfoot, but they're both highly cushioned maximalist shoes. Now, the 1080 is positioned by New Balance as their daily trainer, and the More series is positioned as their recovery running shoes, and that's how they're going to market with it. It's not going to be changing for the V5, and in the V5 we still see that massive stack of fresh foam in the foot. We see a similar rocker. It's more of an evolution of the More V4. They didn't do anything massively different here. Now, New Balance is also introducing the Fresh Foam Balos for 2024, which is going to introduce PIBA into the mix. It's going to be a little bit of a lighter weight shoe than the More V5. It's designed more for those everyday running efforts, while the More V5 is purely a recovery running shoe. I personally do not love the More series. The More V4 had a little bit too much of that sinking in feeling, not a lot of energy return. I think the 1080 V13 was the sweet spot for me. However, if you are a bigger runner, if you like having a lot of that soft cushioning underfoot, the More V5 will be a good choice for you. Otherwise, I would recommend sticking with that 1080 V13. If you're a more efficient, lighter weight runner, that's likely going to be the best option for you. But two good options in the New Balance camp. We did not see the 1080 V14 at TRE, probably because the V13 just came out. So for most of the year, they will have the V13 and the More V5 sold next to each other in that lineup. Alright guys, next up we have the Saucony Triumph 22. Now in the Saucony Triumph 20 and 21, it had this Power Run Plus beaded TPU foam. So a little bit on the heavier side in terms of foam, but very durable, very bouncy, and super cushioned. This was my go-to long run shoe last winter. This was also the Run Shield version, which is waterproof. This franchise is a really solid, comfort-oriented line of shoes, very similar to that New Balance 1080 that I was just talking about, but probably a little bit more energy return from this foam. So in version 22, they're moving away from this Power Run Plus foam and instead going with a full Power Run PB midsole, which is what you see here in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. It's also what's in the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. So this foam is going to be a lot lighter weight. It's also going to be a little bit bouncier even than that Power Run Plus, but it's still going to provide a lot of that cushioning and impact absorption that we saw in the Power Run Plus in the 20 and 21. Saucony did say that the version of the Power Run PB foam that we see in the Triumph and that we see in the Hurricane, which I'll highlight in a few minutes, isn't the same exact formula that we see in the Speed 3 and the Pro 3. It's going to be a little bit more of a daily training formula, so not as bouncy, not as lightweight, a little bit more durable, also a little bit more stable. So we'll have to see how it performs out there on the ride, also if it can still go up to that 300, 400, 500 mile mark that the Triumph 21 did. But if you like that feeling of a bouncy max cushion shoe, Triumph is still going to be a top option for you. Alright guys, next up we have the Hoka Skyflow. Now, this is a shoe that Hoka is debuting, and they told me they designed it specifically for specialty retail, so it's almost like a more runnable version of the Bondi. They've heard runners' feedback that that's not a legitimate, viable running shoe, and they want to put a new option in this category, a category that, frankly, they are responsible for pioneering and inventing and bringing runners toward. We're not seeing anything massively different here, but it's going to be a little bit lighter and easier to run in than the Bondi, not as much foam underfoot, not as wide of a base, and a little bit of a less padded upper. This is not going to have the most exciting ride. It's not going to have the softest ride. It's not going to have the most durable platform. It's not going to be the best at any one thing, but what Hoka shoes are great at are providing a fairly comfortable ride that works for a lot of people. Hoka is like the apple pie of shoes right now. Their shoes are pretty comfortable and they work pretty well. They're not excellent at any one thing in this max cushion category, but the Skyflow should be a good option if you want the Hoka brand name on a max cushion shoe. Alright guys, next up we have the Topo Atmos. Now this is one that just released in 2023, but they're going to be continuing with it into 2024, so I wanted to make sure to highlight it in this roundup. So this is going to be a lower drop max cushion shoe that uses a little bit of a firmer foam than we see in some other shoes on the market. So if you don't like that taller 8mm, 10mm drop, which is standard in this category, a lot of shoes are at that 8mm, 10mm mark, like the Triumph, like the Gel-Nimbus, and the Atmos is a great option. It reminds me a lot of the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3, which is a shoe that I really loved and that will not be getting an extension into 2024. So if you like a bit of a firmer feeling underfoot, a little bit more of a controlled ride versus that soft sinking in feeling, then the Atmos is going to be a great choice. Also, if you prefer a lower drop platform, this one is sitting at 4mm and it's got a bit of a wider toe box because Topo goes with those anatomically built shoes. So all around a comfort oriented shoe that's designed to work around the runner, make it easier for you to run, not have to force you to fight against the foam like you can get with some of these softer shoes. Alright guys, next up here we have the Adidas Supernova Workhorse. Now this is one that I've seen called Supernova Prima in some places, but they had it under a sign called Supernova Workhorse, and that's what the Adidas rep called it when he was talking to me. So we're gonna call it Supernova Workhorse. And what this is a higher stack version of the Adidas Supernova Rise that just released. So it's using that same Dream Strike plus PIBA formula in there, but with a bit taller stack, a little bit more of a wider platform, again for some stability. So this is very similar to me to the 1080, except instead of using that fresh foam EVA, it's using a PIBA blend. On paper, it's not that differentiated from a lot of what's out there, so I'm super curious to get this on foot so I can have a little bit more of an understanding of what the exact key differences are here, because right now there's not a lot of benefit I'm seeing in this shoe against some of these other more established franchises like the Gel-Nimbus and the 1080. The revised Supernova line is a new play for Adidas to gain back some share in the everyday running market. They've done a great job gaining share with the Adizero line, but this is meant to make them a more competitive brand for those non-speed days as well. All right, guys, next up we have the Asics Gel-Nimbus 26. Now this one is going to be releasing in January, and it is not a huge departure from what we see in the Gel-Nimbus 25. So this Gel-Nimbus 25 has a massive stack of this FF Blast Plus foam, which is an EVA blend, and there's also a gel unit in the heel here. So this is a really good option if you like super soft shoes. There's not a ton of energy return with this stack of foam. In some other lower stacked applications of this foam, it can run a bit faster, but this is a shoe that is best reserved for those super slow days. So with a lot of shoes in this category that use these very soft foams like the 1080 V13 and the More V5, these are purely reserved for recovery running use cases, and that is what we are seeing here and in the Gel-Nimbus 26. So if you want a highly specialized shoe that is going to leave your legs feeling really good after running in it, then the Gel-Nimbus 26 is the one for you. I will say it's not going to be super versatile, so if you plan to do any other sort of training, maybe daily training, runs with strides, any sort of pace progression, the Gel-Nimbus 25 or 26 aren't going to be the best choices for that. I would look more to the Saucony Triumph as a shoe with faster potential. All right, guys, next up here we have the Saucony Hurricane. Now, I was excited and disappointed to see the Hurricane at TRE. Excited because I love that Saucony is introducing a new Power Run PB PIBA shoe into their lineup, but disappointed because this shoe spells the end of my beloved Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. So Shift will not be getting an extension into 24, and this is the shoe that is taking its place in the lineup. So this uses a Power Run PB midsole up on top with a Power Run EVA thin layer on the bottom. So the PIBA up top is going to provide that soft, nice landing with a little bit of bounce, and then the EVA on the bottom provides the stability and structure for the shoe, and there's also some rubber coverage. So someone said that this reminded them of the Super Blast, and yes, while the midsole setup is near identical, where you have a 70% super foam layer up on the top and then 30% of the midsole on the bottom is that EVA, this does not seem like it's going to run as fast as the Super Blast. Super Blast is a do-it-all type of shoe that can handle everything. This is likely going to be a bit heavier and slower on foot. And like I mentioned with that Triumph, the formula of Power Run PB that they're using across the Hurricane and the Triumph 22 are different than the racing formulas. There are slight tweaks to make them more suitable for daily training. So yes, it has PIBA, same thing as that Adidas Supernova Workhorse, but the PIBA in here isn't designed to be a rip-roaring fast ride. So this one is going to be good if you want something super protective but with a little bit more of a bounce to it than a Gel-Nimbus or a fresh foam. These PIBA based foams are also more resistant to temperature changes, same thing as beaded TPU like was in the last version of the Triumph. So if you are in a super cold area and you want something that can handle long runs well in the winter without firming up like an EVA can do, then this is a good choice for you. All right, guys, last shoe I want to highlight here is Mizuno. I know we got a bunch of Mizunites out there that are always commenting, asking what the latest is from this Japanese brand. So for 2024 in the max cushion category, we got the Mizuno Wave Sky 8. So they puffed up that little cloud architecture we see on the sides. They've still got a super thick, durable outsole here, and they've introduced a new foam called Mizuno Energy Next. So in my hands, this felt super plush, super soft. This is gonna be a non-plated protective workhorse with the foam that sits somewhere in between a soft EVA blend like that Fresh Foam and FF Blast Plus and a firmer traditional EVA like that Saucony Power Run that was in the last version of the Endorphin Shift 3. So if you are a Mizuno fan, this one should suit you well for a max cushion shoe. I also think it might bring some new folks on board to what Mizuno is doing, and they have two new competitive plated shoes, which I talked about in my plated shoes roundup, that are hitting the scene in 2024. All right, guys, there you have it. That is my roundup of all the best max cushion shoes for 2024. Let me know in the comments what you are excited about. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another video.